Hi everybody, it's Melanie from Art of Center. We're going to make a pinch pot animal today with some low fire white stoneware. I've got a couple pounds here, so 1 pound ball of clay. I've got about 3/4 of a pound of clay separated from it. And with the basic tools are stuff that you can use from your house. So I've got a little takeout fork knife. You can use an old takeout fork or an old fork from the drawer. This is a pottery knife, but you could also use a butter knife. Just got a plain Jane little paintbrush, sponge. I'm using a little wood roller. You could use a dowel in its place, and a little bit of water. So with a pinch pot, what you want to start with is a ball of clay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my thumb pretty much all the way into this ball of clay, but I'm going to leave about a 1/4 inch or so on the bottom of this. So stick my thumb in, and I'm going to pinch and turn. This is where the name of pinch pot comes from. Pinch and turn, pinch and turn. I'm going to go all the way around one rotation. And as I come around to that rotation, I'm going to lift my thumb and my fingers up. And pinch and turn, pinch and turn. And I'm going to make my base form. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make the walls a 1/4 inch thick and consistently a 1/4 inch thick all the way around the pinch pot. And what you are basically starting with is a bowl form. So once I get the bowl form pretty uniform in wall width, I can tap it on the tabletop here and flatten the bottom out a little bit. And then I've got my basic form right here. And it's relatively close to 1/4 inch width on the walls all the way around. And you can feel that as you pinch around. You can feel for thick and thin spots. But what you're trying to do is get rid of the thick spots and make them uniformly equal from the bottom all the way up through the walls of the piece. And you can kind of see that. And I've got the main form made. And like I said, it looks like a bowl to start with. So we're going to start with this shape. So I've got it on the table. I've flattened the bottom of it out a little bit. I'm going to bring my sides up just a little bit. And then I'll set my bowl to the side. Now, with the remaining clay, I'm going to use some of the tools here to make the parts that are going to go on this little form. So with this little bear form, I've got the main part is a pinch pot. I've got a little tiny pinch pot nose, coil balls here for the nose and the eyes, and little slab parts right here. So to make some of these parts, you just pinch off some of the clay. And to make a slab, again, you want uniform thickness. You want the same thickness as the bowl. So don't roll it thinner than what you have or thicker than what you have. If it's too thin, it'll dry too fast. If it's too thick, it'll make the bowl flop over. So I'm just using a roller to flatten it out. Make two little ears out of that. And then I will make some coil balls. So I'll pinch a little bit of clay off. I don't know, about the size of my thumb and my fingernail. And I'm going to make 3 little coil balls, like for the nose and the 2 eyes. So I'll just roll that together in the palms of my hands. And I'll try to make 3 of the same size. And again, I'm just using the end of my thumb as the size of the amount of clay that I'm using. And for the nose, I'm just going to make it slightly larger. Now, if I want to add a tail onto this particular guy, I can take a little bit more clay and make a coil out of the clay. Looks like a snake, basically. So I'll take some of the clay, I'll squish it into my hand, I'll start the coil shape. So I'm going to push down and pull back, push down and pull back. and work down the length of the clay to make it smaller and smaller. depending on, you know, what part I'm making. So now I've got a coil of clay, 3 coil balls right here, 2 little slabs of clay about the same thickness as the width of the bowl that I've just pinched out. And now I can start to cut some forms. So I'll use my pottery knife here to make 1 ear. So what I'll do is I'll make 1 ear, and I'll lay this ear on top of the other slab and match it up. I'll use 1 ear as a template to make the 2nd ear. So now I have 2 ears of equal size. That part. Okay, now as the clay is being handled and it's exposed to the air, it's starting to dry and stiffen. For the nose area here, I'm gonna make a smaller pinch pot. So I'll just pinch off a smaller amount of clay, basically the size of my thumb, and I'll make a tiny pinch pot out of that little amount of clay. So now I've got 1 tiny little pinch pot. Now I've got all my parts made. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the parts to my piece by slipping and scoring. So I'm going to grab my fork. Now, in clay, that is the rule on having pieces attached to other pieces. You're going to have to score and slip both sides that attach. So I'll dunk my fork into the water, and where I'm going to attach the ears, I'm going to score. And basically what you're doing is you're making like a hash mark with the fork. You're going up, down, left, right, making a little wet, slippy section on the rim of this. And then I'll also do the edge of the ear with my fork. And then I'll squish the ear very gently onto that scored mark on the rim of the bowl. And then just use my thumb to attach the ear on the front side and the back side or my finger. And I'm trying to get the clay to attach to itself. So in all cases, your best tools are usually your fingers. And I'm going to bend that ear up so it stays upright because the clay is still a little wet. I'll take my 2nd ear, and I'll slip and score this guy together, go across and left, right. Make sure that the place where I'm attaching it to is also scored and slipped. And I'll very gently push that part down onto the place where I'm attaching it, and just use my fingers to smear the clay together and make the attachment. Give it a little bit of a curve here so it stands upright. And as the clay starts to dry in the air, it starts to hold its shape. There we go. Now I'm going to attach the little nose section. Smooth it out with my fingers, and again, my fingers are my best tool. So I'll score just the top edge with my fork. Scoring and slipping. And slip is just clay with water. That's basically our glue in the clay world. I'm going to put a mark right here in the front where I'm going to attach the nose. Score and slip with water in my fork. And my little tiny nose is now scored pretty significantly. And I can press it very carefully onto the front with my pinch pot. Okay. Now I'm going to attach the eyes. So again, I've got 2 coil balls that I made a minute ago. I'm gonna just tap them on the table a little bit, make them a little bit flatter so that they attach to the pinch pot a little bit better, and I'm gonna score and slip these little flat areas. So it's basically scratching the surface of the clay. So when the clay dries, that scoring mark that you're making like a hashtag will start to dry and compress in and flatten out. Let's do it on the opposite eye. I'm just going to flatten the back side of it out a little bit on the table. Score and slip this. And then I'll find my spot where I'm going to put it on my pot. And then push it on. And I should see clay and water and bubbles ooze out of that little connecting area, and that's exactly what I want to see. It's telling me that I've got a good connection. So now I've got the face, the ears, almost all of the nose on there. Let's put one more little coil ball on the front. A little big. Take it down a little bit. And again, I'm going to put a little flat bottom on it so it attaches nicely to the front pot there, the little tiny pitch pot on the front of the face. And I'll score and slip it. And I'll score and slip this little tiny pinch pot. This is basically the muzzle. And I'll just press it very gently on. And I just give it a couple wiggles and it sticks here in just a second. And then there's my basic pot right there. Now, with the coil here, I can make a little tail out of this one. So I'll take my pottery knife and just make a flat edge where it's going to attach on the back side of the pot. So I'm going to turn this around. And where I attach the tail, again, I'm using my pottery knife. I flatten the bottom of that off. This is a little long. I'll just make it a little shorter. And I will score and slip where the tail attaches to the rear of the pot. I'll just use my fingers to press that clay together where it attaches. And then again, use my fingers to just make the shape of the tail. So now that I have all my main pieces on here, I'm going to put the piece on what we would call a wear board here in ceramics. You could use like a paper plate. So as I start to put texture on the piece, I'm going to move the board with the piece, not the piece itself, because as you can see, the clay is still a little wet and floppy. I'm going to use a hairdryer very quickly to just stiffen the clay up quickly so that I can actually put some texture marks on it. Okay, so it's a little stiffer now. I've used the hairdryer. I can lift the face up a little bit more. The ears should stay in place. Now And I can put some texture marks on this. So I can use my paintbrush to go around some of the edges here that need a little help with the connection, or just to smear them down in areas where I can't get my finger in quite so well. And I'm not using a lot of water, just a little bit of water. Now I can use some of the tools to make marks. So I can use like my knife to make little slits for the eyes in the front. Just gonna rock it right into that coil ball. I can put a little mark on the nose for the nostrils. I can also draw in, with the end of my paintbrush, some little triangles right into the ears. And then I can take the end of my little takeout knife and I can make little marks on the surface to make texture. So I can pull a little clay off. There we go. And now he's got a little texture around the surface of this guy. And I can use the knife or the fork to put a little bushy tail on the end here. So I can just scrape again. Now I'm not using it to score, I'm just using my fork to make texture marks. Bowl a little bit, reshape the ears, it's starting to get stiffer, lift the face up just a little bit more. And I'm doing this the whole time as the piece is starting to dry and the clay is starting to get stiffer. There we go. Now I'm ready to let it set up and get hard, and I can use some underglaze on it now and decorate the whole surface of the piece and get it ready to go dry out and sit in the kiln room. So use your imagination, you know, cat, a dog, a bear, a fox, a wolf, those kinds of things. You can make all those with clay. Just from a simple pinch pot, some slabs, coil balls, and coils. Have fun with it. I hope to see your creations soon. And make sure you hashtag us at ArtOffCenterTX so I can see the work that you've done. Thanks, everybody. Bye.